and welcome back to the Dysfunctional Podcast. You guys, are we surprised I haven't recorded in a long time? No. Sorry about it. It's been a bit of a busy summer, so I just haven't recorded. I don't know. I don't have any more excuses to give you. Because sorry about my voice. I'm getting over a cold. Anyway, but I'm glad to be back. And yeah, honestly, coming up with topics is like the hardest part for me. So once I get past that, I'm good to go. Today's topic is something that I feel like has been weighing on me a lot more recently. And that is because of something a lot of you have probably noticed. And that is the rise of skinny culture. And if you don't know what this is, let me explain it to you really quick. More recently, there's been a rise in particularly young people losing weight more rapidly, and this is usually not in a healthy way, unfortunately. A lot of people are getting on things like ozempic or other weight loss drugs when they do not need to for health reasons. They're just simply, maybe struggling with the way their body looks when in reality it is perfectly healthy. I really quickly just want to mention that when I talk about topics like this, it's never to shame the people that are struggling. When I talk about these issues, I always have the intention of spreading more awareness because I feel like as a society, we don't talk about things like this enough. And unfortunately, a lot of people are struggling with their body image right now because of the world that we live in today and the societal pressures that are put on people to look their best all the time. And this problem has made me think more about the lengths that people will go to in order to change their appearance. And of course, people in society have not always gone to these extremes in order to fix their insecurities. But from my experiences, we have lived in an appearance-obsessed world for a long time. From an early age, I learned that people emphasize appearance pretty heavily. So today we're going to be talking about society's emphasis on appearance, my experience growing up in an appearance-obsessed world, as well as what I do when I'm feeling insecure. So firstly, let's talk about society's emphasis on appearance. I honestly feel like this obsession with appearance grew as social media grew and evolved. And this is because on social media, people are rarely posting pictures where they look not great or they don't look their best. On social media, we are mostly seeing pictures where people look their absolute best and spent like 2 hours getting ready. And the better your pictures are on social media, the more likes or attention or praise you're getting. And this has really conditioned specifically young people to, I feel like, prioritize their appearance or their looks more than other things. So if you're someone who uses social media pretty frequently, it can feel like everyone looks better than you simply because we tend to forget about the process or work that goes into posting on social media, and we're only really looking at the product. I feel like by now a lot of us know that social media is very fake, but when you're in a place where you're so consumed by it and the fact that it represents so many people's lives, and it almost feels like this little world on your screen, it can feel so real, even when it's not really a realistic representation of what someone looks like all the time. Now I'm going to be talking about some of my experiences growing up in a appearance obsessed world. From a pretty early age, I learned that people will treat you differently based on what you look like. Growing up, I had plenty of people comment on my appearance, which was definitely hard because in middle school and high school especially, I was very insecure. So when you're hearing pretty ruthless comments about you, it kind of just confirms what you already feel about yourself. And I think that because of my experiences, I just want to touch on how mindful we need to be about what we're saying to other people, because the stuff that I heard in middle school and in high school still sticks with me today. And I'm not saying that for like pity or for anyone to feel bad for me, because I've, learned to deal with those moments. But overall point, just think before you speak. I was kind of a funny looking kid, and I didn't really grow into myself until later in life, I would say. But a good period of my childhood, I wasn't really thinking about my appearance, but my insecurities worsened, I would say, as I got older. There were always little things when I was super young, but nothing that was like unbearable, I would say. I would say middle school was when I started to heavily struggle with how I looked. And middle school is an awkward time in general. So obviously it's not unusual to be a little bit uncomfortable with how you look. It's an uncomfortable time in general. Completely normal to feel a little bit weird in middle school. But during this time, how I looked truly consumed me. I avoided mirrors quite a bit during this time, and I was constantly comparing myself to other people that I knew. Thank goodness my parents didn't let me have social media really until later, because oh my gosh, if I had social media, my insecurities would have been 10 times worse, because they were bad enough comparing myself to people I knew. I can't imagine having social media and comparing myself to everyone on social media. In middle school, this is when girls my age were liking boys, and the boys were starting to pay attention to the girls. And growing up, boys didn't really pay much attention to me. And kind of the same thing went for high school. I didn't really have many experiences with boys, which of course hurt in the moment because I wanted to be included and I don't know, and experiencing some of the things that my friends were experiencing. But I'm so thankful for this now because I learned to not rely on male attention for validation. And I truly believe this is the reason why I am not a male-centered woman today. Like, for the most part, I kind of just do my own thing. And if a guy ends up liking me for me, then cool. If not, okay. But I've never been the type of person to act the way I act to impress boys. And yeah, I think this is because I just didn't really get a lot of attention from boys growing up. So I had no reason to act a certain way. I also didn't really know what it was like to get attention from boys. So I don't think I really craved it as much. I think that if I had gotten more attention from boys, I would have craved it more because I would have known what that was like. And I don't want anyone to think this is me complaining because it's literally fine. Like, men scare me. I'm at peace. Do not pity me. I am doing great. But anyway, middle school and high school were pretty rough times where I felt pretty insecure in my own skin. And like I mentioned earlier, the middle school and high school environment did not help my insecurities at all because kids are ruthless and a lot of them just kind of say whatever they're thinking and they don't realize how much their words impact people. Particularly in high school, I started to struggle with my body image quite a bit because I didn't really feel like a woman. I think that I just had a different body type compared to those around me. And I wasn't really like filled out like a lot of the people around me or like my friends were. I listened to a podcast where Emma Chamberlain talked about this and I related to it so much. When she was talking about it, I was like, that is literally exactly how I felt. And she explained it so well, and she talked about how mentally she felt like a woman, but physically she didn't. And that's exactly what I went through, especially in high school. Today, I'm definitely in a better place with not just my body image, but how I look in general. But some days are harder than others. I think obviously we all have our moments where we're not feeling our best. I think that what makes me most insecure now is probably my skin. I've struggled with acne since I was 13, and I could make that a whole other podcast episode, honestly, because there's so much that comes with that. That people don't realize unless they've struggled with acne. I just recently started Accutane, which has definitely been a challenge, but I know is ultimately a good choice for me, even if my skin doesn't look the best right now. I'm currently in the purging phase, which, if you don't know what that is, it's when your skin starts to get worse before it gets better while you're on Accutane. So in all honesty, I have not felt pretty recently. Honestly, this whole summer I felt chopped. Oh gosh. You know, I've kind of reverted back to old tendencies, and it's giving me PTSD in middle school. I'm avoiding mirrors. I'm avoiding taking pictures. I don't feel good about myself. But I feel like no one really talks about this stuff. So I just want to be honest with you guys because more people need to talk about it. Because we all have moments where we don't feel our best, especially in today's society. When we're dealing with unrealistic expectations. I think that the time period that I grew up in was hard enough. I can't imagine being in middle school now when it's 10 times worse. But I feel like I have learned so much from my experiences, and I figured out some coping skills that work for me when I'm feeling insecure. So here's what I do when I'm feeling insecure. My first thing is I try to be more mindful of how much time I'm spending on social media and what I'm looking at. If I'm scrolling on social media and it seems like all I can focus on are all these girls who are prettier than me, or all I can do is compare myself to other people, then I try my best to take a step back from social media and spend less time on it. My second thing I do is that I remind myself that my appearance is the least interesting thing about me. And how I try to do this is I will think about myself like a close friend. And when I think about my close friends, never am I thinking, oh, I like so-and-so because she has clear skin. No, I like my friends because of their character and their personality, not because of how they look. I hope you know that the best parts about you have nothing to do with how you look. And if that was truly how I picked who I surround myself with, I would be surrounded by pretty boring people if the only thing they had to offer was how pretty they are or how good looking they are. So if you're feeling a bit insecure about your appearance, I really recommend reminding yourself of that. Your appearance is the least interesting thing about you. You have so much more that you bring to the table. I often wonder what the world would be like if instead of spending all this time and energy on how we look, we spent our time bettering ourselves as human beings, and focusing on our character and who we want to be, and just reflecting on that rather than what we look like. The next thing I do when I'm feeling insecure is I pray about it and read my Bible. Giving your problems to God is, in my opinion, the most effective way with dealing with things that have been bothering you. And reading my Bible just keeps me grounded and helps me realize that my perception of myself is not always true, and I can always rely on God to remind me who I am and to remind me what's important. This just helps me to focus on how God sees me rather than how I see myself. Because as humans, we're very hard on ourselves at times. The next thing I do is I do some journaling. Getting my thoughts out on paper, I've found, is a really effective way for me to process them. That is just something that is helpful for me personally. And then my last thing that I do if I'm feeling a bit insecure is I find some healthy distractions. An example of this could be spending time with loved ones. I feel like this specifically just reminds me of what's really important. So yeah, this is just one of many healthy distractions, but I feel like it's the most effective for me. And yeah, I feel like a healthy distraction from time to time can't hurt. So that is all I have for today, and I hope you got something out of this episode. I hope it helped you in some way. If you're going through a rough time with your appearance, I've been there, and trust me, I get it, but we're in this together, and you are beautiful inside and out, even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes. You will get through this, I promise. And in case no one's told you today, I love you and I care about you. And Jesus loves you. Okay. I will see you next time I record a podcast. Thank you for listening. Bye.